The other side, the unknown Tang Shirshir was baffled for a moment, and even curiously wanted to follow over to have a look. The two just kept hiking, crossing the walkway to the beach by the ocean. Because it was nighttime, there were still a lot of young people swimming on the beach at this time, and there were also many couples, blowing a gust of sea breeze, as if the heart is quiet at this moment. What could possibly surprise me here? Tang Shirshir hugged Xu Feng's arm while blankly glancing at him. Take it easy. Instead, Xu Feng sold his words and a smile appeared on his face. The two just walked aimlessly along the beach, leaving faint footprints behind them. Little by little time passed, but nothing happened. It wasn't until 9 p.m. Sharp that a long brass bell rang together off the beach. As a brilliant point of light shot up in the distance and exploded high in the sky, a human-shaped firework pattern was reflected in the night sky. The silhouette of that person's appearance was none other than Tang Shirshir herself. When the second point of light rose, this time it was not a human-shaped firework that exploded, but two love hearts strung together to represent the longevity of the sky. Like it? Xu Feng wrapped his arms around her small waist and softly asked. Like. Tang Shirshir nodded her head desperately, a hint of happy tears welling up in her eyes. As long as my Shirer likes it, I'll give you fireworks every day in the future. Xu Feng grinned and also looked very happy. You're so good to me. At this moment, after seeing this scene, Tang Shirshir herself, who was standing in the distance, was initially shocked for a moment by Xu Feng's fancy means, but as soon as he heard the two talking, the anger in his heart immediately surged again. This asshole is a bully. He thinks he can do whatever he wants in his dreams? Even visualized her character as such. In the dream world, when that person said something about deer, as well as being pampered, Tang Shirshir even wanted to rush over and strangle herself to death. No! He must be made to pay. No sooner had that thought risen than the real body burrowed into its dreamy self and took over physical dominance, intending to give the bastard a piece of his mind. Who would have thought that just after gaining the initiative of her body, before she had time to organize her thoughts, a big mouth had already pressed against her face? Well, at this moment, Tang Shirshir's entire body froze, and her head went even more blank. The strange feeling that had once been in the Valley of the End came back again, even stronger. It's an amazing feeling, as if it's like eating cotton candy. Could clearly hear her heart beating faster and faster, and her cheeks subconsciously blushing. Why is that? She tried to fight back, but found she couldn't make it work, or her consciousness was complying. The two just kissed, even forgetting time and who they were. It wasn't until this dream world suddenly shattered and the surroundings turned blank that Tang Shirshir awoke with a start. In the real world room, the two opened their eyes almost simultaneously. Suffocating me. Xu Feng naturally did not realize how serious what he had just done was, and hurriedly got up and wanted to go out to pee. I just felt that I had just had a dream that was not shy or manic, and the object was even this big devil, and I even kissed someone's little mouth. If this woman knew that he was having this kind of dream, I'm afraid she'd have the heart to kill him. As it turned out, the thought had just fallen on. End of chapter. Chapter 32. You've changed. Requests for follow-up readings. Chapter 32. You've changed. Requests for follow-up readings. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive, making it hard to breathe. If Xu Feng, who was not woken up by urine, was still having that unashamed spring dream at this moment, he had just stepped out of bed, and before he could take a single step, he suddenly sensed something was wrong and slowly turned his head. Xu Feng, only to see Tang Shirshir sitting cross-legged on the bed, fragrant sweat flowing down from her forehead and temples, her eyes wide open. She looked at Xu Feng in a daze, not saying a word, and even its thick breathing could be clearly heard. What's wrong with you? Xu Feng suddenly raised his eyebrows and asked. Tang Shirshir's red lips slightly opened. Wanting to speak, she subconsciously reached up and touched her lips, her mind racing with the unpleasant images from earlier. The already cluttered Dao mind became even more chaotic at this moment. It can't be a cultivation fork, right? Xu Feng was suddenly a little worried because this kind of situation had also appeared to him before in the game. Don't touch me. He was just about to help the woman down and let her rest when he saw Tang Shirshir slapping his hand away in annoyance while hissing. From the tone of her voice, you could hear her restlessness and irritation at the moment. These words could have startled Xu Feng, and he hastily took a few steps back, thinking to himself that he didn't seem to do anything to this woman, right? Tang Shirshir, on the other hand, was instead suffering as if she was in great pain, her face white and her eyelids heavy. Just in the next second, she suddenly got up and tightly tugged on Xu Feng's collar, her tone becoming more and more shaky as she spat out a few words. Why? This made Xu Feng completely confused. This woman had hysteria? Or perhaps feeling that she was too excited. Tang Shirshir only calmed down a little after seeing his confused look. Just now it was merely in the dream world. Xu Feng did not know it and really kissed himself. But even in the dream, it still felt so real. She wanted to become angry, but when she saw Chu Feng again, the anger that had just accumulated in her heart was swept away. "What's wrong with you?" I'm fine." After adjusting her emotions and stabilizing her Dao heart, Tang Shusher replied faintly, "Just be fine. If something happened to you, wouldn't I have to cry my eyes out?" Seeing the seriousness of the atmosphere, Chu Feng teased her jokingly. "Why are you crying?" Tang Shusher's eyebrows were locked. If she were to fall, these human cultivators would be too happy to be happy, and would break into tears for themselves? Thinking about it all felt impossible. Chu Feng was dumbfounded. His smile became awkward, and with a quick turn of his brain, he hurriedly replied, "Because I care about you." "Care about me?" Tang Shusher seemed to have heard an unbelievable sentence. "Ahem. Although you, the big devil, have a bad temper, you don't seem to be bad inside. It's just that you seem to have been unwilling to face your true inner self, always using a cold face to disguise your true self." Chu Feng thought for a moment before answering frankly. In fact, these words are not nonsense. In these days after the contact down, he can feel the woman inside the other side. Just she has been deliberately hidden, or not willing to accept the other side of their own just. "But you do look pretty when you smile. You should smile more often." Without waiting for her to reply, Chu Feng continued. Tang Shusher tilted her head to look at this man who was half a head taller than herself, her eyes suddenly becoming mesmerized. In the past, when she heard these words of flattery and praise, she would only think that these people were hypocritical and disgusting. But when these words came out of this man's mouth, there was actually a trace of pleasure in the bottom of her heart. "Yes?" Tang Shusher responded with a coquettish smile. Chu Feng smiled faintly and did not reply, turning around and exiting the room because he really could not hold it in anymore. "My life, maybe it really should be done differently." After the people left, Tang Shusher murmured softly, "After all, he didn't meditate anymore," and directly laid down on the bed and covered up the quilt to sleep, and then left Chu Feng's position to ensure a safe distance. She had even forgotten how long it had been since she had gotten a good night's sleep, and the day in and day out cultivation had eventually made her feel tired. Early in the morning of the second day, the sky had just turned a shade of fish belly white, and the sound of chickens crowing outside was already echoing throughout the ancient village. Perhaps it was because Pops and Mom felt that the two were too tired last night, and got up early in the morning to cook a hearty breakfast. And Chu Feng came back from peeing last night and found that this woman even broke the record of lying on the bed and sleeping, which is also the first time he saw, so he did not disturb her. The two of them slept until 7 in the morning, and when Tang Shusher got up, Chu Feng was surprised to find that this woman seemed to have become somewhat different. What exactly was different? He couldn't tell, only to see that after she came out from inside the room, she actually took the initiative to call her aunt and uncle, even without any sense of incongruity. It became so off guard that you almost thought this was the same Tang Shusher who had been so submissive to yourself in your dreams. "Mom, sure, and I have things to do to get back to the city, so we'll go to the town for the bus after breakfast later." At the dinner table, Chu Feng suddenly opened his mouth, because in one more day, the immortal demon game would open, and the things he had come back to take care of this time were finished. He guessed that this game had the potential to affect reality, or even break the void and come straight back in the future just like Tang Shusher. That was why he had to be one step faster to summit the highest peak and achieve the immortal king realm once again. If there are any changes at that time, it will be too late to deal with them. Hearing this, Mom put down her chopsticks, but she wasn't upset. He just looked at his son and then his future daughter-in-law and sighed. "I know you young people are busy, but are you still coming back together for the new year?" Chu Feng and Tang Shusher glanced at each other and were suddenly dumbfounded. After a few more seconds of silence, Tang Shusher suddenly said, "Come back, Chu Feng." He looked at the woman with some surprise, not really able to figure out what kind of drugs she had in her gourd. "Okay, just be able to come back for New Year's Eve, and we can still set up a banquet for you then." Mom immediately smiled happily at the news. The trip home is finally over. The two of them left the house at 8:30 after breakfast and resumed their journey to Jianhai City. When he had just walked out of the village gate, Chu Feng suddenly stopped in his tracks. He seemed to have forgotten something, but he could not recall it. Your old favorite mother's illness was also cured by this seat. Who knew that? Tang Shusher laughed. She herself didn't know which of her tendons was wrong, that she would help these worldly mortals one after another. Instead of being happy, Chu Feng was slightly surprised when he heard that and said with wide eyes, "I suddenly realized that you don't seem to be you anymore. Where is all this nonsense? Do I need to ask for your opinion on what this seat is going to do?" Tang Shusher disdainfully said, raising her hand to summon flying swords in front of her. "If you don't come up here again, you can walk back on your own." Seeing that Chu Feng froze in place, she opened her mouth once again and rebuked. End of chapter. Chapter 33. The Immortal and Demon Game opens. Request for catch-up reading? Chapter 33. The Immortal and Demon Game opens. Request for catch-up reading? The early December in Jianghai City was cold and windy. Many people even wore down jackets, and fluffy snowflakes fell from the entire sky. Late at night, heaven and earth fell into silence. A tiny speck of light landed on the roof of an old neighborhood house. It's freezing. I told you not to fly so fast. Chu Feng rubbed his hands together, his body constantly trembling. He really didn't expect the weather to change so much after just a day or two away. Originally 2 people in the daytime morning can come back, but this woman on the road to see a few peaks said that there is a spiritual vein. Followed her all the way to fly all the way to dig, ink to the late night 11 o'clock more before coming back. Then why don't this seat warm you up? There's such a good thing? When Chu Feng heard that, he immediately thought the wrong way. As a result, in the next second, a flash of dark blue flame ignited on Tang Shishir's palm, frightening Chu Feng into running away in a hurry. He was more than clear about this flame. When the two of them dueled in the final valley, this woman had used this 9-demon evil fire to burn him more than once. If he were to come into contact with his current cultivation level, he would have to go up in smoke if he touched even a tiny bit of it. However, since leaving Xiujia village, Chu Feng was also surprised to find that not only had this woman become more talkative, sometimes she would even joke with him. I'm actually not cold at all. I was just saying that. He replied with a single sentence and hurriedly ran back from the rooftop in one breath to the second floor of the rental house. As soon as Tang Shishir entered the room, she directly picked up the lollipop on the table and nibbled on it, completely ignoring Chu Feng. He was thinking of something else though. How should I tell this woman that immortal magic is actually a game? Or tell her that you're not actually a person? You're a game just NPC. However, this idea was quickly vetoed by Chu Feng, because it was impossible for people to believe it even if they said it. After thinking about it, he came up with another possibility. Seeing Tang Shishir come out after taking a bath, Chu Feng called out to her. I'll tell you something, don't be afraid. What is it? Seeing the serious and earnest look on this guy's face, Tang Shishir vaguely felt a little uneasy. Just now, our movements may have been detected by this realm as powerful. What? Tang Shishir's eyes widened as the longsword loomed in her hand, her body's spiritual energy gathering while she covered her divine sense to the maximum. Hold your horses. I'm only talking about possibilities. That's why I'm planning to use an innate spiritual treasure to temporarily return to the immortal demon continent to avoid the storm. As a result, the moment Chu Feng finished saying those words, this woman immediately went crazy, her eyes revealing delight. She simply didn't expect that this guy even had a private treasure, and it was a treasure that could go back to the immortal demon continent. So wouldn't that make it possible for him to go back as well? However, this treasure has a fatal flaw. After traveling back to the immortal and demon continent, all cultivation will be lost, as if experiencing reincarnation. But when you came back to this realm again, your cultivation was restored. Chu Feng thought for a long time and spoke with his mouth full. The truth is that the reasoning is that if you cross over, you have to delete your number and retrain. Have such an evil treasure? Tang Shishir was shocked, because once she lost her cultivation, wouldn't she become an existence to be slaughtered? Wait, you mean to say that this treasure can create another body for us in the immortal demon continent, so that our souls can cross over and gain dominance, and the body in this realm will be unable to be detected by those powerhouses due to the loss of our souls and vitality? With a bit of narration, Donnie understood it to be this. Well, that's probably what it means. Chu Feng nodded after hearing her understanding. In that case, where is the treasure? Tang Shishir sort of understood some of it, but not all of it. She had only recovered 4 layers of her injuries now, and if she were to truly fight with a strong person from this realm, she would have no chance of winning at all. When you wear it, it will inspire this treasure. Chu Feng looked at the time. It was currently PM on the last day of November 11:52. There are only 8 minutes left until the game of immortal magic begins. He actually didn't want to bring this woman into the game with him, but was just afraid that if he was in the game, Tang Shishir would do something outrageous out in the real world. It will take some time for this treasure to be inspired. Put it on and meditate for about a quarter of an hour, and I will take the initiative to look for you after crossing back. Chu Feng instructed her to go back to the bed in her room and sit down on the bed, and at the same time, had her cast a boundary to the room to prevent others from disturbing it. Seeing that the woman would be skeptical, I guess she was also very disbelieving inside. It was also good that Chu Feng's ability to fool people was strong enough to barely make her believe. At this time, not only Jianghai City, but even other cities were boiling with almost bright lights, because once 12 o'clock hits, the world's first virtual reality game is about to start. Reality is different from the passage of multiple hours in the game. A day passes in the game, but only an hour in reality. So little bashers no longer have to worry about not having enough fun.